added by individuals, bringing the accumulated skills from the first half of working life to the higher goals of their second acts. New rites of passage have emerged. The gap year, or two, sabbatical between midlife and the Encore career now fulfills at least some of the old fantasy of freedom and retirement, but it also serves as the transition to an encore. What is known now as retirement generally takes place in people's mid-70s, after their encore careers. Many work even longer. Social Security, far from being bankrupt, runs a modest surplus and is able to support the truly dependent, including the 1/5 of the older population, a number that continues to decline, who retire on disability by the age of 65. Whole new industries and institutions service boomers on the path to new purpose. Meanwhile, financial services firms and other businesses have found considerable profit in helping individuals plan for their encore phase of work and contribution. Rather than saving in midlife to finance outright retirement in their late 50s or early to mid-60s with no income from work, people save in their middle years to buy an extra measure of freedom in their second half of work, for a time when they can swap income for impact. Spurred by enlightened public policy, Encore careers provide a second chance at upward mobility for individuals from the less affluent end of the socioeconomic spectrum. New skills and increased education open new doors, reflecting the emerging reality that this chapter of work is not only about using your experience, but also about acquiring new know-how. The experience economy takes on an entirely new meaning in the process. As continued engagement and purpose serve as a fitness program for the body and the brain, life expectancy continues to climb. More and more people seem to have a second and even a third encore as their health and energy hold out well into their 80s and 90s. Demography turns out not to be destiny after all, at least not in the way pundits once proclaimed, but those prognosticators were right in another way. The present situation feels inevitable, as natural as the oxygen in the air. The suggestion that it wasn't always this way brings a quick response from those in this society of 2030. Not possible. We'd never survive writing off the most experienced segment of the population in the middle of their productive years. Haven't things always been this way? As the 2032 election approaches, political power is indeed passing to a new generation. But the boomer legacy is assured. A generation that set out to change the world surely did, by changing the way the world thought about the purpose of work and the definition of success, and by rolling up its sleeves and doing the work that needed to be done. A new stage of work. The more appealing view from 2030 might sound like a utopian fantasy. After all, most of the economic forecasts and policy predictions today point in the opposite direction. The prospect of boomer-driven downward spiral comes directly from the congressional testimony of no less an authority than Federal Reserve Board Chairman Ben Bernanke, echoing his predecessor Alan Greenspan, who retired at the age of 79. Of course, worst-case scenarios of hand-wringing politicians and experts do sometimes come to pass. However, nearly all the dire scenarios that have become such a prominent part of the intellectual and policy landscape contain a simple central fallacy. They take retirement as we've known it as a given and a constant. A relatively recent social institution is treated as an eternal verity, and all planning revolves around it. The predictors of doom jam together the new members, the demographic reality of a vast flood of boomers moving through their 60s and beyond, with the old lifestyle, a static conception of future behavior based on the leisure-driven retirement that was the hallmark of the past. This is scenario building through the rearview mirror. The absurdity of this assumption is apparent in an advertisement from Allstate aimed at the boomers and touting their financial planning services. The advertisement starts with a clever line that is true enough. The generation that wouldn't trust anyone over 30, the banner begins, never planned on a 30-year retirement. A timeline shows 6 marks stretching from life's beginning to its end. The left half offers caricatures of the same person at birth, childhood, and adulthood. The right half provides 3 more depictions of the man, slowly aging through retirement, retirement, retirement. He repeatedly checks his watch with increasing frustration as his beard grows ever longer, and endless retirement defines the second half of life. Then Allstate reverts to convention. The ad posits boomers' greatest fear, living to see the well run dry. The point, dramatic extension of life expectancy in the United States requires an equally dramatic investment in one's own retirement savings. After all, how else can you sustain 30 years, half of one's adulthood, outside the working life? The ad drives to its punchline. Let's save retirement by saving